Imagine being told point blank by your own sister, just weeks before her wedding, that you are too nasty to even attend. That hurt. But what truly broke me was when my mother, the woman who raised me, stood right beside her and laughed. And that's when something inside me finally snapped. The morning started like any other Saturday in our cramped suburban house in Ohio. Boxes of wedding favors cluttered the living room, white tulle draped over every available surface, and my sister Madison sat at the dining table. Her phone was in one hand, a mimosa in the other. She looked up at me with that familiar expression, the one that always preceded a demand disguised as a request. "Emily, come here. We need to finalize the guest list before the venue needs the final count." I walked over, still wearing pajamas at 11 a.m. because I'd been up until 3, helping Mom assemble centerpieces. Madison pushed a legal pad and pen across the table toward me, her French manicure gleaming under the overhead light. She'd always been particular about her nails. "Start writing," she instructed, not looking up from her phone, which I assumed held more wedding details. "Mrs. Patterson from next door and her husband. The Johnsons from 3 houses down. Oh, and the Ramirez family, all 5 of them." I wrote diligently, my handwriting cramped and messy compared to Madison's perfect cursive that adorned all the wedding invitations. My sister had always been the pretty one, the one who got ballet lessons while I got hand-me-down sneakers. She'd been homecoming queen while I worked part-time at the library to save for college. But that was just how things were. "Put down Linda and Uncle George," Madison continued, taking a sip of her mimosa. "And their kids, what are their names again? Tyler and Sophia. Whatever. Just write the whole family. Oh, and Grandma's bridge club friends. She'll never let me hear the end of it if I don't invite them." The list grew longer. Madison rattled off names of distant cousins I barely remembered meeting, her fiancé Brandon's entire softball league, and people from her yoga studio. Then she paused, tapping a finger against her lips. "Write down your friends, too. Jessica, Amanda, that girl you went to high school with. What's her name? Sarah. Rebecca," I corrected quietly. "Sure, whatever. Put her down. Actually, put down all your college friends. The more the merrier, right?" I kept writing, filling page after page with names of people I knew, people Madison knew, and people neither of us had spoken to in years. The legal pad became a catalog of every human connection our family had ever made, regardless of how tenuous. My hand started to cramp around the 30th name. Finally, Madison held up her hand like a traffic cop. "Okay, that's enough. Otherwise, it will be too overcrowded." I set down the pen and flexed my fingers. Something occurred to me as I scanned the 3 pages of names, an absence that seemed too obvious to be accidental. My stomach dropped. "I think you forgot about me." The words came out smaller than I intended, almost like a question, though I knew what the answer would be, even before Madison's perfectly lined lips curved into a smirk. She set her phone down on the table with a deliberate click and looked at me directly for the first time that morning. "Nah, this is who I want at my wedding. You're way too nasty." The word hung in the air between us. Nasty. She'd called me that before, usually when I questioned her borrowing my clothes without asking or when I suggested she pay me back the $300 she'd owed me for the past 2 years. But this felt different, more calculated. Mom appeared in the doorway from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, and I waited for her to intervene, to tell Madison she'd gone too far this time. Instead, Mom started laughing. "It's her day," she said, her voice dismissive. She said what she wanted to say. "Don't disturb her now." The betrayal stung worse than Madison's words. Mom moved to stand behind my sister, placing her hands on Madison's shoulders like she was posing for a family portrait that didn't include me. She pointed at the legal pad still sitting in front of me. "Now get up and start helping. The wedding isn't going to happen by itself." I stood slowly, my legs feeling disconnected from my body. Dad chose that moment to walk in from the garage, his hands covered in grease from whatever he'd been tinkering with out there. He barely glanced at the scene before launching into his own agenda. "Speaking of the wedding, Emily, we need another $5,000 for the venue. They're charging extra for the extended bar service Madison wants. You've got that money saved up, right? From your job." 3 pairs of eyes turned to me expectantly. Madison examined her nails. Mom crossed her arms. Dad wiped his hands on his jeans, leaving dark smears on the denim. They stood there like a tribunal, waiting for me to fund a wedding I wasn't even invited to attend. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet finality of a door closing for the last time. I'd spent 26 years being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who could be counted on to swallow her pride and do what the family needed. I'd given up scholarships to stay close to home when Mom got sick 3 years ago, even though Madison had been perfectly healthy and unemployed at the time. I'd worked double shifts at the hospital, where I was a nurse to help pay for Dad's truck repairs. I'd been the family's emotional and financial backup plan for so long that they'd forgotten I was also a person. "No," I said simply. Dad blinked. "What do you mean, no? We need that money by Monday, or we lose the venue deposit." "I mean, no. I'm not giving you $5,000. Actually, I'm not giving you anything. Madison's head snapped up from her phone. Excuse me? You're seriously going to be petty about this? Petty? The word tasted bitter. You just uninvited me from your wedding after making me write out invitations for the entire neighborhood, including people you haven't spoken to in a decade. But I'm the one being petty. Mom's expression hardened. Emily Rose, you watch your tone. Your sister is getting married. This is a special time for her. Then she can pay for it herself. I picked up my phone from the counter, my hands surprisingly steady. And since I'm too nasty to attend the wedding, I assume I'm also too nasty to keep living here and subsidizing everyone's lifestyle. That got their attention. The smug certainty on Madison's face faltered. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Mom took a step forward, her hand outstretched in a gesture that might have been placating under different circumstances. What are you talking about? Dad asked. I pulled up my banking app, the one I've been checking obsessively for the past 6 months as I'd secretly saved and planned. I'm talking about the fact that I've been paying 2/3 of the mortgage on this house for the past 3 years. I'm talking about the $15,000 I've lent this family that nobody has ever paid back. I'm talking about the fact that I put my entire life on hold to make sure all of you could live comfortably. Madison rolled her eyes. Oh, here we go with the martyr routine. I'm not finished. My voice came out colder than I intended, but I didn't try to warm it. I'm moving out today. I've already put a deposit down on an apartment across town. My name isn't on the mortgage for this house, so you'll need to figure out how to cover my share starting next month. The color drained from Dad's face. You can't just leave. We have an arrangement. An arrangement you made without consulting me. I was 23 when I started paying into this house, and you told me it would be temporary. That was 3 years ago, Dad. Madison hasn't paid rent in 5 years, but somehow I'm the selfish one for wanting my own life. Mom found her voice shrill and accusatory. After everything we've done for you, we raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. Until I was 18, which was your legal obligation as parents. Since then I've more than paid back that debt. I've paid for Madison's car insurance when she totaled her Honda. I've covered your medical bills when insurance wouldn't. I bought groceries and paid utilities and never once asked for anything in return, except basic respect. I headed toward the stairs, needing to put distance between us before I said something I couldn't take back. But Madison's voice stopped me. You're really going to abandon us right before my wedding? What kind of sister does that? I turned around slowly. The kind whose own sister told her she was too nasty to attend the wedding. You made your choice, Madison. I'm just making mine. You're being dramatic, she insisted, but her voice wavered. I was joking. Obviously, you can come to the wedding. No. The word felt powerful, liberating. I don't want to come to your wedding anymore. I don't want to watch you marry Brandon in a dress I helped pay for, at a venue I was expected to fund, surrounded by people who think it's hilarious that you publicly humiliated me. I'm done being your backup plan, your ATM. Dad tried a different approach, his voice taking on a cajoling tone. Let's all calm down and talk about this rationally. You're upset and you have a right to be, but let's not make hasty decisions. I've been planning this for 6 months. The only hasty thing here was thinking you all might notice I was unhappy. That silenced them. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom and started pulling out the boxes I'd hidden in the back of my closet. I'd been slowly packing for weeks, smuggling out winter clothes and books and anything I wouldn't immediately miss. Most of my important documents were already at my new apartment. This was just the final load. Mom followed me upstairs, her footsteps heavy on the creaky steps. She stood in the doorway of my childhood bedroom, watching me fold clothes into a box with sharp, angry movements. You're really going to throw away your family over money? This isn't about money. I didn't look at her. This is about respect. This is about being treated like I matter. Of course you matter. Don't be ridiculous. When's my birthday, Mom? She paused. What kind of question is that? Just answer it. When's my birthday? It's in the spring. April, I think. June 14th. I turned 26 4 months ago. You didn't call. You didn't text. You were too busy helping Madison plan her engagement party. Mom's face flushed. I've had a lot on my mind. You remembered Madison's birthday. You threw her that huge party at the country club, but you couldn't remember mine. I taped up the box with more force than necessary. That's fine, Mom. You don't have to remember anymore. After today, it won't be your problem. Stop being so sensitive. You know your sister needs more attention. She's always been more fragile. The absurdity of that statement would have made me laugh if it didn't make me want to cry. Madison fragile? Madison, who manipulated everyone around her with the precision of a surgeon. Madison, who threw tantrums until she got her way and faced zero consequences because she was the baby of the family. Madison is 24 years old and unemployed, I said flatly. She's not fragile. She's spoiled and I'm done enabling it. I carried the box downstairs, squeezing past Mom, who made no effort to move. My old Toyota was parked in the driveway, and I loaded the box into the trunk with the others I'd hidden there yesterday. Madison and Dad were arguing in the living room when I came back inside. "This is your fault," Madison hissed at him. "If you hadn't asked her for money right then, don't blame me for your disaster of a guest list." Dad shot back. They both went quiet when I entered. I grabbed my laptop bag from the kitchen counter and unplugged my phone charger from the wall. These were the last of my things, the final threads connecting me to this house and this family. Madison tried once more, her voice taking on a pleading quality I'd rarely heard. Let's talk about this. I'm sorry I said you were nasty. I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did." I slung the laptop bag over my shoulder. "And that's okay. You're allowed to feel however you feel about me. But I'm also allowed to decide I don't need that kind of energy in my life." "But the wedding," she said weakly. "You'll have a beautiful wedding. You'll have all those neighbors and extended family members and even my friends there. You just won't have me or my money. I'm sure Brandon's parents will cover the extra $5,000. They seem to actually like their future daughter-in-law." Dad stepped forward, trying to block my path to the door. "Emily, if you walk out that door, don't expect to come crawling back when things get hard." "Things have been hard, Dad. They've been hard for 3 years. The difference is now I'll only have to worry about my own problems instead of everyone else's too." I moved around him and he didn't try to physically stop me. None of them did. They just stood there in various states of shock and anger as I walked to my car, loaded the last of my things and started the engine. Through the windshield I could see them clustered in the doorway. Dad with his arms crossed, Mom with her hand over her mouth, and Madison with tears streaming down her carefully made-up face. Part of me expected to feel guilty. I'd been conditioned my entire life to put their needs before my own, to be the responsible one, the dependable one. But as I pulled out of the driveway and watched the house shrink in my rearview mirror, all I felt was relief. My phone started ringing before I reached the end of the street. Madison's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. She tried again. I declined again. By the third attempt I pulled over and blocked all 3 of their numbers. It felt like removing a splinter I'd been carrying for years. The apartment I'd rented was small, just a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an older building, but it was mine. I'd signed the lease 6 months ago and had been slowly furnishing it with secondhand finds from estate sales and Facebook Marketplace. A blue couch that had seen better days but was comfortable. A kitchen table I'd refinished myself. Bookshelves I'd assembled with my own hands because I'd never had room for my books at home. I spent the rest of that Saturday unpacking and arranging. My friend Rebecca came over to help, bringing pizza and wine, and asking no questions when I told her I'd finally made the break. She'd been encouraging me to move out for years, had witnessed firsthand how my family treated me like a combination ATM and personal assistant. "I'm proud of you," Rebecca said as we hung curtains in the bedroom. "I know that wasn't easy." "It was easier than I thought it would be, I admit it. Once I said no the first time, everything else just followed." "Are you going to unblock their numbers eventually?" I considered this while adjusting the curtain rod. "Maybe, but not anytime soon. I need space to figure out who I am when I'm not busy trying to be who they need me to be." That night, sleeping in my own bed in my own apartment, I felt more at peace than I had in years. No one would wake me up at 2 in the morning asking me to pick Madison up from a party. No one would guilt me about spending my paycheck on myself instead of contributing to the family fund. No one would make me feel selfish for having boundaries. The texts started coming the next morning from numbers I didn't recognize. Extended family members Madison had clearly recruited to her cause. My cousin Jennifer wrote a long message about how family was forever and I was being immature. My Aunt Susan sent a curt note saying I should be ashamed. Several people I barely knew weighed in with opinions about a situation they knew nothing about. I deleted them all without responding. Monday morning I went to work at the hospital like normal. My shift was busy, filled with the usual chaos of the emergency department where I worked as a registered nurse. It was good to focus on other people's problems, on things that actually mattered like heart rates and medication dosages and keeping people alive. My personal drama felt small in comparison. During my lunch break, I called my landlord at the old house. My name had never been on the lease or mortgage, but I'd been making direct payments to the property management company for years. I explained I'd moved out and needed to terminate my portion of the arrangement. The landlord, a tired-sounding woman named Mrs. Chun, was surprisingly sympathetic. "Are you on the lease?" she asked. "No, I was just helping with payments." "Then you don't owe any notice or penalties. Thanks for letting me know. I'll contact the actual leaseholders about the shortfall." That was easier than expected. I thanked her and hung up, then opened my banking app to look at my finances with fresh eyes. Without the constant drain of family obligations, my paycheck suddenly went a lot further. I could actually start saving for the things I wanted, like the trip to Scotland I'd been dreaming about for years, or the photography equipment that might let me explore a hobby beyond work and family. The following days brought a barrage of messages from Madison, Sent from her friend's phone since I blocked her number. They ranged from apologetic to accusatory to desperate. The wedding was in 3 weeks, and apparently reality had set in about their financial situation. I read each message once and then deleted it. Her problems were no longer my responsibility. 2 weeks before the wedding, Dad showed up at the hospital. Security called me down to the lobby, and I found him pacing near the information desk, looking older and more tired than I remembered. His greasy work jacket hung loose on his frame, and his hair had more gray than I'd noticed before. "We need to talk," he said without preamble. I glanced at my watch. "I have 4 minutes before I need to be back upstairs. The mortgage is due. Your mother and I can't cover your share. The bank is threatening foreclosure." Something hard settled in my chest. "That's unfortunate." His eyes widened. "Unfortunate, Emily? We could lose the house. Then I suggest you get a second job or tell Madison to get a first one." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. "Please, I'm asking nicely. We made a mistake." "Okay, Madison was wrong to uninvite you. Your mother was wrong to laugh. I was wrong to ask for money. We all see that now. Do you?" I pulled my arm free gently but firmly. "Or do you just miss my paycheck?" "It's not like that. Dad, I love you, but I don't like you very much right now. And I definitely don't trust you. You had years to treat me like I mattered. You chose not to. I'm not going to light myself on fire to keep you warm anymore. That's not fair." "You're right. It's not fair. It wasn't fair that I gave up a full scholarship to Duke to stay home and help when Mom got sick. It wasn't fair that I worked double shifts to pay for repairs on a house I didn't own. It wasn't fair that my own sister told me I was too nasty for her wedding while simultaneously expecting me to fund it. But here we are." I walked toward the elevator, and this time he didn't follow. When I glanced back, he was standing in the same spot, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered Madison's smirk, Mom's laugh, and the 3 pages of guest names that didn't include mine. The elevator doors closed and I took a deep breath. 3 minutes before I needed to be back on the floor. I stopped in the bathroom to splash cold water on my face and remind myself why I'd done this. In the mirror, I looked different than I had 3 weeks ago. Lighter somehow, like I'd been carrying weight I hadn't realized was crushing me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another unknown number. I almost didn't look, but curiosity got the better of me. "Emily, it's Brandon. I got your number from Madison's phone. I wanted to reach out personally. I'm really sorry about what happened. Madison told me everything and I think she was completely out of line. I told her we need to postpone the wedding until this family stuff gets sorted out. But she's insisting we move forward. I just want you to know that I value family, and if you were my sister I'd want you at my wedding. If you change your mind there's a seat for you. No pressure." I stared at the message for a long moment. Brandon had always seemed nice enough, if a bit naive, about Madison's manipulative tendencies. This was the first genuinely kind thing anyone from that situation had said to me, but it didn't change anything. I typed back, "I appreciate you reaching out, Brandon. That means a lot, but I won't be attending. I hope you and Madison have a happy life together." "Truly," he responded immediately. "I understand. Take care of yourself." That was the last message I received about the wedding. Either Madison had finally accepted I wasn't coming back, or she'd run out of friends willing to lend her their phones. The week of the wedding came and went. I worked my shifts, had dinner with Rebecca, and took a long walk through the park near my apartment. I didn't think about whether the ceremony was beautiful or if the venue worked out. It wasn't my problem anymore. 3 months later, I was settling into my new life with surprising ease. Work was going well. I'd taken on additional responsibilities at the hospital and received a small raise. I joined a photography club and had been out on 2 shoots with other amateur photographers, learning about composition and lighting. Rebecca and I had started a tradition of Sunday brunch at a little cafe downtown, where they made incredible French toast. I hadn't heard from my family since Dad's visit to the hospital. Part of me wondered how they were managing, if they'd lost the house or if Madison had finally gotten a job, but I didn't wonder enough to reach out and ask. Some doors once closed should stay that way. Then I got a call from my grandmother. I'd almost not answered since it came from a number I didn't recognize, but something made me pick up. Grandma's voice was thin and reedy on the other end, older than I remembered. "Emily, it's Grandma Jean. Please don't hang up." "Hi, Grandma. How did you get this number?" "I have my ways." She chuckled and I could hear her smile. "I wanted to check on you. See how you're doing." "I'm good. Really good, actually." "I'm glad to hear that, sweetheart. I heard about what happened with Madison's wedding. Your mother called me crying about it." My jaw tightened. "Did she tell you the whole story?" "She told me her version. Then I called Rebecca's mother at Bridge Club and got a different version. I suspect the truth is somewhere in the middle, but probably closer to what Rebecca's mother heard from Rebecca." Despite everything, I smiled. Grandma had always been sharp. "Yeah, probably. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. I love your mother, she's my daughter, But she has blind spots when it comes to Madison. Always has. And your father's never been good at standing up to either of them. Thanks, Grandma. That means a lot. I also wanted to tell you that I didn't go to the wedding either. I nearly dropped the phone. What? When I found out what Madison said to you, and that you weren't invited, I called her up and told her I wouldn't be attending either. Family is supposed to support each other, not tear each other down. She cried and your mother pleaded, but I held firm. I'm too old to waste time on nonsense. Tears pricked my eyes. You didn't have to do that. Of course I did. You're my granddaughter too, and you've always been the one who showed up when people needed help. Someone needed to show up for you. We talked for another hour about everything and nothing. Grandma told me about her garden and her bridge club drama. I told her about my photography hobby and my apartment. It felt normal and warm and exactly what I needed. You should come visit me, Grandma said before we hung up. I'm still in the same house in Pennsylvania. I'll make my pot roast. I'd like that. Maybe next month. Anytime, sweetheart. And Emily, I'm proud of you. It takes courage to choose yourself. After we hung up, I sat on my couch with tears streaming down my face. They weren't sad tears exactly. More like release, the final letting go of the guilt I'd been carrying. If Grandma, the family matriarch, the woman everyone respected, thought I'd done the right thing, maybe I had. 6 months after the wedding that I didn't attend, I got a Facebook friend request from Madison. I let it sit in my pending requests for a week, unsure whether I wanted to open that door even a crack. Eventually, curiosity won out. I accepted the request. She messaged immediately. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I typed back. You're right, but I'm listening anyway. Can we meet for coffee? I want to apologize. Actually apologize, not just say sorry because people are telling me to. I've been in therapy and I'm starting to understand a lot of things about how I treated you. No pressure if you say no. I'd understand. I thought about it for 3 days before responding. Okay, but I'm picking the location. And if this is just another attempt to get money or free babysitting or whatever, I'm out. It's not. I promise. We met at a Starbucks halfway between her house and my apartment. Madison looked different, thinner, more tired, less polished. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup. She'd never been one to leave the house without a full face before. Thanks for coming, she said as I slid into the seat across from her. You have 15 minutes. She nodded, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup. I've been thinking a lot about the guest list thing, about how I treated you for years, really. And I finally understand why you left. Do you? I was jealous of you. The words came out quickly, like she'd been rehearsing them. You had your life together. You had a career and independence, and everyone always talked about how responsible you were. I felt like the screw-up sister. And instead of dealing with that, I just used you. I used your money and your time and your willingness to help. And I convinced myself I deserved it because you had more than me. I didn't say anything, just waited. The wedding was a disaster, by the way. Half the people didn't show up because they found out you weren't going and thought it was weird. The venue tried to charge us extra fees we couldn't afford. Brandon's parents did cover some of it, but they made it clear they weren't happy about it. And the whole time I kept thinking about how you weren't there and how it was my fault. I'm sorry the wedding didn't go well. Don't be. I deserved it. We deserved it. Madison's eyes filled with tears. Mom and Dad lost the house. Did you know that? My stomach dropped. No, I didn't know. They couldn't make the payments without your contribution. They moved into a rental apartment last month. It's small and kind of crappy, but it's what they can afford. Dad got a second job doing overnight security. Mom keeps saying if you just come back, everything would be fine. That's not my responsibility. I know. My therapist has said the same thing about 50 times. Madison wiped her eyes. I'm not here to ask you to help them or to ask for anything really. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. I understand why you left and I don't blame you. You were right about everything. I was spoiled and manipulative, and I took advantage of you because I could. I studied my sister's face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation, but she just looked tired and sad. What do you want from me, Madison? Nothing. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really genuinely sorry. Not because I miss your money or because I need something. Because you deserved better from me, and I failed you as a sister. She pulled out an envelope from her purse and slid it across the table. This is for you. I opened it. Inside was a check for $300, the amount she'd borrowed from me years ago. It's not everything I owe you, Madison said. But it's a start. I got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. It doesn't pay much, but I'm working. Brandon and I are in couples counseling too, trying to figure out how to build a life without depending on other people. I stared at the check, surprised into silence. This wasn't what I'd expected. Thank you. You don't have to forgive me, Madison continued. I know trust takes time to rebuild, and I might never get there with you, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. The kind of person who deserves a sister like you. We talked for another 30 minutes. I told her about my life, about my photography and my job, and how I visited Grandma in Pennsylvania. She told me about therapy and marriage and learning to live within a budget. It wasn't warm or close or like sisters in a movie, but it was honest, and that was something. When we left, Madison hugged me briefly. I hope someday we can have a relationship again. A real one where I actually treat you like you matter. But I understand if that day never comes. Maybe, I said. We'll see. I drove home thinking about second chances and forgiveness and whether some bridges were worth rebuilding. I still didn't know the answer, but at least Madison was asking the right questions now, and that was more than I'd expected. The check sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days before I deposited it. Part of me wanted to frame it as a reminder that people could change, but the practical side of me knew $300 would cover groceries for the month. I took a photo of it first though, just in case I needed the reminder later. Work became my anchor during those transitional months. The emergency department was perpetually understaffed and chaotic, but there was something clarifying about the chaos. When someone came in with chest pain or a child arrived with a broken arm, my family drama faded into insignificance. These were real problems with real solutions, and I was good at solving them. One Thursday evening, I was triaging a patient when I heard a familiar voice in the waiting room. My whole body tensed before I could stop it. Mom's voice carried over the general noise, sharp with anxiety as she spoke to the receptionist. I ducked behind a partition and signaled to my colleague Marcus, different Marcus from the one I'd eventually date, to handle her intake. "What's wrong?" he asked, already moving toward the desk. "That's my mother. I can't. Can you take her?" He nodded without judgment. One of the benefits of working in emergency medicine was that everyone understood complicated families. 20 minutes later, Marcus found me in the supply closet where I was supposedly counting bandages, but actually just breathing deeply and trying to calm my racing heart. "Your mom's fine. Minor dizzy spell, probably from skipping meals. Her blood pressure is a little elevated, but nothing concerning. We're discharging her with instructions to follow up with her primary care physician." "Did she ask for me?" "Yeah. I told her you were with a critical patient and couldn't step away. She seemed to accept that." Relief washed over me. "Thank you." "Hey, Emily." Marcus paused at the door. "Whatever happened between you and your family, you're allowed to protect your peace. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that." I nodded, not trusting my voice. After he left, I stayed in the supply closet for another 5 minutes, giving Mom enough time to leave the building. The fact that she'd come to my workplace, whether intentionally or by coincidence, felt like a violation of the boundaries I'd carefully constructed. I made a mental note to talk to the charge nurse about ensuring I wasn't assigned to family members if they came through the ER again. When my shift ended at midnight, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. Mom's handwriting, shaky and uneven. "I miss you. Please call me. We can talk without your father or Madison. Just us, Mom." I crumpled the note and tossed it in a nearby trash can, but it haunted me on the drive home. Just us. As if we'd ever had a relationship that was just us, separate from her favoritism toward Madison or her enabling of Dad's financial irresponsibility. I'd never been enough for Mom on my own. I'd always been the supporting character in Madison's story, and Mom had been fine with that arrangement until it stopped benefiting her. Rebecca came over that weekend with Thai food and a bottle of wine. I told her about the hospital visit and the note while we ate pad Thai straight from the containers on my living room floor. "Are you going to call her?" Rebecca asked. "I don't think so. What would I even say?" "You could tell her how you feel. Set boundaries. See if she's capable of respecting them. And if she's not," Rebecca shrugged, "then you'll know. Look, I'm not saying you have to reconcile with your family, but I also know you, and I know this unresolved stuff eats at you. Maybe having one conversation on your terms in a neutral location would give you closure either way." I considered this while sipping wine. The idea of facing Mom one-on-one terrified me, but Rebecca had a point. The uncertainty was its own form of torture. At least if I tried to talk to her and she proved unwilling to change, I could close that chapter with confidence instead of lingering what-ifs. "I'll think about it," I finally said. 2 weeks later, I sent Mom a text from a new number she wouldn't recognize. "This is Emily. If you want to talk, we can meet at Brewster's Cafe on Saturday at 2 p.m. Just you. If Dad or Madison shows up, I'm leaving. If you try to guilt me or ask me for money, I'm leaving. This is a one-time offer." She responded within minutes. "I'll be there. Thank you." Saturday arrived, gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that matched my mood perfectly. I got to Brewster's 15 minutes early and claimed a corner table where I could see the entrance. My hand shook slightly as I ordered coffee, and I had to remind myself that I could leave at any point. This meeting was happening on my terms and I held all the power now. Mom arrived exactly on time, wearing a coat I didn't recognize and looking smaller somehow. We'd seen each other just 8 months ago, but she seemed to have aged years. Her hair had more gray, and new lines etched her face around her mouth and eyes. She spotted me and walked over slowly, like she was approaching a skittish animal. "Hi, Emily." "Mom." She sat down carefully, arranging her purse on the chair beside her. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug, needing something to hold on to. Why did you come to my hospital? I didn't know you worked there. Your father and I switched insurance plans, and that's the closest ER to our new apartment. When I realized you were there, I hoped we might talk, but your colleague said you were busy. I studied her face for signs of deception, but found only weariness. What did you want to talk about? Mom took a breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry for laughing when Madison uninvited you from the wedding, for expecting you to fund our lives without appreciation, for choosing your sister over you time and time again. Her voice cracked on the last words. I've been a terrible mother to you, Emily, and I'm ashamed of that. The apology hung between us. Part of me wanted to accept it immediately, to fall back into old patterns of smoothing things over and pretending everything was fine, but I'd worked too hard on myself to backslide now. Why did you always choose Madison? The question came out quieter than I intended. Was I really that unlovable? Oh honey, no. Mom reached across the table but stopped short of touching my hand. You were never unlovable. You were easy. You didn't need me the way Madison did. She was always struggling, always dramatic, always demanding attention. And you were just, okay. You got good grades and had friends and seemed fine on your own. I told myself you didn't need me fussing over you. But I did need you, I said. I needed a mom who remembered my birthday. I needed a mom who defended me when Madison was cruel. I needed a mom who saw that I was drowning trying to keep everyone afloat, and threw me a life preserver instead of more weight. Tears streamed down Mom's face. I know that now. I failed you in every way that mattered, and I can't take that back. Losing the house, watching your father work 2 jobs, seeing Madison finally grow up. It forced me to look at what I'd done. The family I destroyed through my own selfishness and favoritism. We talked for over 2 hours. Mom told me about their financial struggles, about the strain on her marriage, about the guilt that kept her awake at night. I told her about my life now, about the peace I'd found in independence, about how I was learning to value myself the way she never had. It wasn't a magical healing conversation. Years of damage couldn't be undone over coffee, but it was a start, maybe. When we parted ways, Mom hugged me tightly. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to earn your forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm going to therapy too. I'm trying to be better for myself, yes, but also because you deserved better than who I was. I appreciate that, I said carefully. I'm not ready to have you back in my life regularly, but maybe we can do this again in a few months. See how things are going. She nodded, accepting the boundary without argument. Whenever you're ready, or never if that's what you need. I'll respect whatever you decide. A year after I moved out, I was living a life I barely recognized from my old one. I'd been promoted at work to a senior nurse position. My photography hobby had turned into a side business, nothing major, but I'd done a few portrait sessions and one small wedding. I'd even started dating someone I met at the photography club, a software engineer named Marcus, who made me laugh and never once asked me for money. I still talked to Grandma regularly and had visited her 4 times. Madison and I texted occasionally, surface-level stuff about weather and work. Mom and Dad had reached out a few times through Grandma, asking if we could talk, but I wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe someday, maybe never. I'd learned I didn't know anyone access to my life just because we shared DNA. Rebecca and I were at our usual Sunday brunch spot when she asked, "Do you ever regret it? Walking away from your family?" I thought about it while cutting into my French toast. Sometimes I feel sad about it. I grieve what I wish we could have been. But regret? No. I made the right choice for me, and that's what matters. You seem happy, Rebecca observed. I am happy. For the first time in my adult life, I'm making decisions based on what I want, not what someone else needs from me. That's not selfish. That's survival. She raised her coffee cup. To survival. I clinked my cup against hers. To survival. Outside the cafe window, the world continued on. People rushed past with their own dramas and complications. But inside, in my small corner of Sunday morning peace, I was exactly where I needed to be. I'd learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away from people who don't love you back. And sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or satisfying or immediate. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living your own, unapologetically happy life. What about you? Have you ever had to choose yourself over family expectations, and how did it change your life? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to know.